Welcome to the AHPs and Quality Improvement podcast, where we are on a mission to raise the curiosity and profile of allied health professionals in quality improvement. We will be delving into the very heart of what quality improvement means. We will be contemplating the power of networks and spotlighting great QI work that is happening in the AHP world. We will be looking outside of the AHP world to see who we can learn from and apply this to our day-to-day work. Likewise, you don't have to be an AHP to listen. Our best work is done in collaboration, and we want to harness the power of connection to improve the care we offer patients, the teams, and the systems we work in. For our very first episode, I'm delighted to welcome the three lead conveners of the network, who are going to talk about their journey with quality improvement and give us some history and context to the network. It's a great one to listen to if you are new to the AHP network, and also if you are interested in networks and the power of connection. As ever, hit subscribe to keep up to date with our latest episodes and beat the algorithms. This is new for us, so every single subscriber is a little moment of joy, and we need all the moments we can get. Share with your friends, your boss, your students, and then find us on NHS Futures and the Q community to delve a bit deeper into our network. I am Jo Kitchen, the network facilitator and podcast host for this episode. All opinions are of the individuals and do not necessarily reflect their organisations. We hope you find this an interesting and useful podcast. Despite our very best intentions, if we have made any errors, please get in touch and let us know. Hello listeners. Today I am joined by three of our founding members of the AHP QI network. It's really nice to have all three of you here on Teams today. So we've got Carrie, who works for NHS England at the moment as the Southwest Regional Head of AHPs, and you are a speechy by background. Is that right, Carrie?
I am indeed, yes, speech language therapist.
Excellent, fab. And then we've got Naomi, who is patient safety specialist and lead for safety culture, based at the Royal Cornwall Hospitals Trust, and radiography by background, I think.
I am radiography. I am a therapeutic radiographer, so I'm one who plays with megavoltage.
Excellent. Always an important distinction, that. And then we've also got Janet Folland from the North, and she is the AHP Faculty Integration Lead and Chair of the Integrated Care System for North East Cumbria. Is that still your role at the moment, Janet?
Yes, I'm the chair of the faculty for North East North Cumbria. Absolutely, yes. Yeah, and I'm an occupational therapist by background.
Oh, fab. So we are going to delve straight in with our first question, which is why quality improvement? Because all of you have had varied careers and you could have become a specialist or have a special interest in a whole range of things. So what has it been about quality improvement that has drawn you, that has stood out for you, that has made this want to be a focus for you? Carrie, do you want to start off with that?
Thank you. So I think I found my way into quality improvement via workplace culture, really, and the way we do things around here. And finding it a tricky space where people were constantly focusing on performance and productivity and actually weren't really thinking about the complex and complicated aspects about what make change happen and actually what makes change stick as well. So it's one thing making a change, it's another thing making it a sustainable and embedded change, which comes back to culture and the way we do things around here. So I really moved into that space, and it was something that I felt was accessible to everybody to engage in a different way to people that were wanting to take a more research approach to make change happen.
Oh, that's interesting. How about you, Naomi?
I've always been a little bit of a boat rocker and a bit pirate, and quality improvement, like Carrie, I felt was accessible. It was something different. I'd had experience of change management, where by the time the change had come in, life had moved on and actually that change was no longer relevant. And I like the step-by-step approach of improvement, knowing what worked, knowing what didn't work. And for me, as that kind of characteristic of change agent, it gave me the agency to act, maybe in just small ways, in a way that I felt safe. Just to move that needle 1%. And I felt collectively, if everybody was moving 1%, we all had the ability to make our services and our workplace just a better place to be. And ultimately, that meant better care for those who needed us.
I think that's a common theme I've heard when talking to people on the network, that starting desire to make patient care better and then looking for ways to really be able to do that well. How about you, Janet?
I think my interest in quality improvement came from lived experience of experiencing quality improvement. So I'm very lucky in that I live in a part of the world that had an embedded system quality improvement structure, a Cumbria Learning Improvement Collaborative, which has been in place for many years. And from that, I saw and felt and lived the difference it made to services, to staff, to people. And it was the sort of models, methodology, and all the tools were really, really helpful. But mostly what I really got out of it was all the relational side of it, and how actually getting people together with knowledge and with a desire for change makes such a difference. And that in a really, you feel it. I felt it with my heart, I think.
Oh, I think that brings us quite nicely onto our next question, because thinking about that relationship side of things, my next question is, well, why did you decide to set up a network? You could have just done this in your own teams at work. So how did the network come to begin? Naomi, do you have some thoughts?
So one of the things that I think is a huge skill set of AHPs is connections. We can make things happen across different systems, organisations, different multidisciplinary ways of working. And the network came to be because of connections, of people connecting the dots between conversations maybe that are happening around improvement, and AHPs didn't seem to be a voice there when actually we had a really good role to play. But also connections in that I was having a conversation, a lovely diagnostic radiographer in Bristol was having the same conversation, and we were speed dated together, and the conversation started to grow, and those connections started to grow. And interestingly, although there were things happening within our own organisations, we weren't maybe as developed as other areas were. And so quite quickly we started to mutually benefit from each other's knowledge and experience. And as Janet's saying, that lived experience, that desire that Carrie describes, you start to really build something that anybody who's curious or experienced can be part of.
That's really interesting to hear. And then how did it grow to become a national sort of network? Because that sounds relatively local between you and Cornwall and then Bristol. Was that when you came on board, Carrie?
So yeah, we happened to be at a regional conferencing event in the Southwest, known as the Southwest Massive, and connecting people together on the day and saying, let's take away an action to see what we can do to find out if we're the only region thinking this or not. So at the time I connected with a colleague who worked in NHS Improvement, Caroline Poole, who was another founder member of the network. And interestingly, she said, oh my goodness, I've been having a similar conversation with Janet Folland in the Northwest. So Janet, I don't know if you want to come in about what conversation you'd had that led us to form the network.
Yeah, I think that so my conversation with Caroline had been sort of some time ago now, really, and it was just a mutual conversation about joining Q and how as AHPs, a bit like you're saying just then, Naomi, about how as AHPs we I think almost have a natural tendency towards quality improvement and change and transformation, and all that through connectivity. And we're having this conversation with Caroline about Q, and we're sort of saying, well, wouldn't it be great if there was some sort of connection that we can all just bring together AHPs who have that that motivation and that desire and that energy. So that is the conversation I'd had with Caroline.
Well, fab. It's interesting how these things grow, isn't it? From the small conversations together that then lead on to something else. Naomi, did you want to jump in there?
Janet's just mentioned Q, and I think that that was one of the big changes in being able to move from individual or small group conversations into a much bigger conversation. So using platforms like Twitter, now X, to say, is anybody else thinking the same? Is anybody out there? But really the opportunity through the Health Foundation and Q Community to start the special interest group, that is when we felt that there was real traction. And naturally in that space you have improvers, you have people that want connections, and it just felt like we were finding our tribe there. And the support that we got from Q and Q Community and the Health Foundation in kind of trying to eventually found a network, originally just finding people, was brilliant. We benefited from their connections and their experience and their knowledge. And I remember feeling very supported, even though I didn't quite know where this was going to go. I know at one point we were kind of saying, we're not quite sure what the path looks like, but come with us. And actually, having trust in each other that this was going to be something brilliant, and I do feel it's something really brilliant. But I think finding our tribe through those conversations, through forums like the Q Community, was pivotal in the network's growth.
Absolutely. I found the Q Community to be such a welcoming place, and you go on thinking about your maybe AHP stuff, and then before you know it, you're in liberating structures and all sorts of interesting pockets of stuff going on. So Carrie, would you be able to tell us a bit more about how the network is now structured nationally?
Yeah, so again, based off our foundations that we did in finding people, and was this a group that may, have momentum? I think at the time it was the fastest growing SIG group on the Q Community, and this is pre-pandemic. And we also had funding. We were successful in putting in a funding bid to help us with the development and establishment of the network. We had the news that we got our funding agreed against our plans, literally, I think the week before we went into the first lockdown in March 2020. And at that point, we had to do an immediate pivot, because all our plans have been based on in-person, old school delivery of engagement, communication, road style, show style events to find more people or see what people wanted and to co-produce the network. So we had to be, in adversity is opportunity, and we had to change our ideas up. And between us then, we had to be strengths-based, and we split ourselves into different elements to work on what we thought we could do. So we had a comms squad to really see what we could work with in terms of communication, out encouraging people and promoting what was going on and where could people find us. We ran a AHP connectors and conveners course. So we set up our own short course and put expression of interest out through the SIG group to get representation from across 4 nations aligned to Q Community and across all the regions in England as well. So we had 10 designated regions to really look at what is a network, how do networks work well, and what did we want from our network. And through that, we were able to co-produce a charter, an idea, and set ourselves an ambition for year 1 of what we wanted to achieve. So at that point, this was April now 2021, after we'd finished that first programme, our plan and our vision was that by April 2022, we will have established a thriving UK AHPQI network to learn, share and support AHPs from novice to ninja in quality improvement.
Oh, and as I've come into this later than you guys, that to me is what it feels like. It's gone from a small group of individuals to people up in Scotland, there's quite a few over in Northern Ireland, that are regularly connecting together and supporting in an informal way, as well as being able to put on events that are accessible to the more wider AHPs. So I think you've partly answered this. I was wondering who the network is for. Carrie, you talked about it being for both novice and ninjas. Would you be able to expand on that a bit more?
Yeah, so we really wanted the network, and through the regions it's become almost a network of networks as well, to help through that regional and national activity, knowing that there are different priorities and focuses that might be in different places and spaces, to allow anyone to come in to a supportive space, to learn out loud, to share their knowledge, experience. As Janet said, experience of QI is often the thing that tempts people in. So if you've had a positive experience or you've heard about someone else's, coming to be able to find out about it is quite important. And really that growing in confidence and capabilities for anybody. So we've had students involved, we have academics involved, we have people that are experts in QI, we have people that are frontline AHPs delivering services. We have all sorts of different people involved in our network. So it's aimed at the AHP community, including support workers, everyone in that community, but also, as we've seen in the Q community group, other people that are wanting to connect with AHPs around quality improvement. So we may have service improvement leads, programme leads, change agents in other areas that are wanting to find out what we think or how we would do it, or engage us in wider programmes as well.
That makes it all sound really, really exciting. And when you actually list out the number of different people that are involved with the network, either directly or indirectly, there is so much to it. Did you want to add something, Naomi?
I think what Carrie, you're describing just beautifully is how AHPQI found its space, but also how it became a space for everyone, for whatever people needed, and that ebb and flow of networks uniquely, I think, creates that. And definitely through the Q community, it took us outside of maybe an NHS network, and I found that incredibly powerful. All different, it wasn't just everybody within our AHP family or anyone else who wanted to connect with us. It was about, it doesn't matter where you are organisationally, it's not just for the NHS. We managed to make some amazing connections with independent providers and those smaller parts of the AHP family professional wise. And I think there is something that the network has managed to offer for everybody, no matter where you are geographically, where you are in your career, or where you are with your curiosity. And I think that does link back to those kind of natural habits of an improver, which I think are the natural habits, as Janet said, of an AHP, that curiosity, that wanting knowledge and skills, wanting to improve healthcare, and kind of being those disruptors for change, in thinking differently. I think that we just found our space, and people found a space within us, which was really lovely.
Oh, thanks, Naomi. However, we do know that everything has its challenges, and there was the pandemic, but other things haven't been entirely smooth sailing either. Janet, are you able to talk us through some of the challenges the network has faced?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what Naomi was saying there in the sort of space in which this network sort of sits, is it sort of lends itself to like one of the challenges we have, which is that it is a network for everyone without a mandate. So it's absolutely beautiful in that it's completely independent. It's for everyone, but because of that, we don't have this set mandate with specific targets, things that we have to sort of judge ourselves against in terms of something that's being given to us. So it's sort of quite freeform in that way, and therefore it can be quite hard to look at sort of on judging ourselves against something. The other things I think is because it is this far-reaching network, as Carrie was describing, so the 4 nations, all the regions, these 10 different areas, with this breadth of professions, the connectivity behind that is also quite difficult. I think it's been quite challenging. So although we sort of set up with the Comm Squad, which is a beautiful method actually in bringing together people who specifically think about the communications and the connections side of it, that can still be quite difficult, getting to the people who need to know or would like to know about us, and also keeping that going as well. In that, of course, because of the way that we're working, it's all been digital. It's all been, I mean, under the course of pandemic has really supported us around taking this into a digital form, but that in itself we can have some barriers to that, you know, which I'm sure we're all very, very familiar with the vagaries of a digital side of it. So that has been quite challenging, but actually having the regional network sort of structure has, I think, helped with it. Anything to add, anybody?
I've certainly noticed the tech challenges. You would think that we are largely NHS based and it would be easier than it actually is, but even with Teams things can be problematic, and I think it is useful though. Not having a specific mandate does give us the freedom to explore different options, both in how we communicate and how we meet, so that gives us a little bit of freedom to get around. Carrie, did you have a challenge you wanted to add?
Yeah, it's a challenge, and I share it because people that are coming in, it's something that lots of us have found coming into this network, and it's something to be mindful of and know that we're all aware of it. So it's nobody's job to be in this network because it's not mandated. People choose to come because they think it will benefit the work they're doing, help them with their skill development or their confidence in QI. But there is, as all networks are, a give and a take. So when people come, we say, we'll help you with what you want, but you need to offer us a bit of your time, a bit of your knowledge, a bit of your expertise in return, because that's how this network happens. But that's discretionary effort. And I know that's not an uncommon thing that we talk about a lot in the AHP space. But that means that sometimes finding times to meet when people have got to do it around their job, and have they got permission, or are they allowed to do it in their working time, or how are they going to fit it in, and when do we do this, can cause some friction and rub. And we want people to have it recognised and it to be seen as a really valuable learning opportunity that they should be taking to their appraisals and their personal development reviews and saying, I am part of this network and the benefit to me is this, and the benefit to my service and my team and the patients is this. And so really trying to figure out how we do that, and people not feeling guilty that they can't necessarily do all the things they'd like to do in the network.
Absolutely. We do not want to be adding any more feelings of guilt onto anyone. This should be a positive addition to the things people are doing at their work, definitely not guilt tripping. Right, so we're going to finish with one question that I'd like all 3 of you to answer, and it is, what's been the best part of setting up this network and being involved in it? Janet, do you want to head off for us on that one?
Yeah, I think to me, it's been an absolute joy. And I think I'm one who likes relationships, like connections. I like being with people. I like people. And what this has given us an opportunity for is to do all that connecting across such a large geographical area, but with people who are the same as me. So either that sense of belonging in this network has been really strong, and not to be underestimated, I think, actually.
Absolutely. Naomi?
Oh, Janet, I absolutely agree with you on that sense of belonging, and those connections. I've been the bits where I just think yes, and I'm so proud. When I see those connections happening, I see the light bulb of ideas, I see the swap shop of information, and I just continue to see the strengths and the willingness and the opportunity in AHPs to be those drivers for change. And I suppose my characteristics around wanting to find joy, that curiosity, it speaks to all of those things. I think for me personally, and it's been touched on in the conversation, I'm just coming as me. I haven't needed to get, it part of my role or anything like that. And I've changed roles several times through the network development, different employers, different asks of me. And I've still always found a safe, kind space within the AHP community, and that I have found incredible. And it's something that I continue to look for and hope that others find within us.
Oh, thank you, Naomi. That's really good to hear, that you can feel like you can be me and really get that sense of belonging. Carrie, are you able to finish off for us?
So I think for me, a key thing that's been a real benefit of this is the knowledge mobilisation that happens through our connectivity. I have also met people that I would never ever meet, people from all different nations, and formed really great friendships as well as networking opportunities that will last with me and be an absolute highlight of my whole AHP career. I would say it really has that tribe element of finding people where you can do things. The energy I put in is the energy I receive back from this network. It really does, and it needs to have a sustainable energy resource to take that forward, and really trying to embrace a network in how networks should be run. And I think we've really tried to stay true to the principles of what networks are, with a shared leadership, shared decision making, bringing people in, giving what they can offer, and I really feel really proud of what it is. And the fact that we're still here 5 years later, and we're still reviewing what the network's about, how we want to see it move forward in the next year. We can't get it wrong, because we're doing this for ourselves. So if we want it to work and people want to make it work, then we keep going, and we have transformed. The masterclasses have been absolutely brilliant in giving people taster, foot in the door opportunities, or upskilling or refresher on QI, and also help support the networks, which are still growing, changing, starting across the regions, to encourage more people to get involved.
Oh, thank you so much, Carrie. Absolutely. I think this is a network that you all should be able to feel proud of. It's really great to hear about how it started and how it's grown and continued to transform over the years. Thank you ever so much for giving up your time today to have a chat with me. I think it's been really useful to get a little sense of the history of the network and the sorts of things that we're aiming towards.